What's the xiest moment you've seen by accident? When I was 19 I worked as a delivery driver for KFC. They used to deliver back then. I was walking back from a delivery and one of the female employees was in an empty lobby scrubbing a spill on the floor on her hands and knees. Her butt was facing me. As she scrubbed her butt wiggled. I married her. Was out fly fishing in the middle of nowhere in Slovenia. I saw two people off in the distance further down the river. They appeared to be naked. As I got closer I saw a female sitting on a stool with her legs open. A man was on his knees in the water and he was shaving her pussy with a razor that he was rinsing off in the river. I'll never forget this. I was 13. Selling newspaper subscriptions door to door around 7 PM one night. Hit an apartment complex for that easy money. Knocked on a door and before the third knock, the door flew open. And a very attractive brunette in black lacy lingerie and thigh highs came into my life. Well hello Theo it and slammed the door in my face. Obviously was expecting someone else. My balls dropped that night. I was 16 and at my friend's lake house. He had two incredibly hot sisters. Tall, tan, and blonde. Even better, they brought friends. My friend and I had a room upstairs while all the girls were downstairs. In the middle of the night I wanted some water. So I went downstairs. Their door was cracked open as I passed so I looked inside. Being the nosy teenager I was, I saw all four girls naked, scissoring each other and I made this all up. I'm so lonely. Duck Valentine's Day. I was at a free concert in Central Park. The public toilets were disgusting. So women were using a wooded area nearby. Watching discreetly from a park bench, a grizzled homeless man feverishly masturbated. My wife had recently lost a good bit of weight and was feeling rather proud of herself. I caught her standing naked in the bathroom checking out her ass in the mirror. Self-confidence people. Ultimate aphrodisiac for men and women. My preteen self was in line for the diving board at the local pool when the girl who just jumped in ran back into line, with her right boob popping out of her bikini. After staring for a good 5 seconds she finally noticed and giggled as she put it back, which gave me the opportunity to learn just how weird it is to jump into a pool and swim with a woody. Edit. I got gilled for this? I'll take it. Thanks. Back in high school I was taking my dog for an evening walk around my neighborhood. She's doing her business and starts barking up at someone's house. So of course I look to see what made her bark and lo and behold there's a girl from my class, topless and just out of the shower looking out her window. I don't think she saw me but I made sure to feed my dog extra treats when we got back. Damn I miss that mutt. Was walking down the street in Center City, Philly during the day when I had the sudden urge to look up at one of the apartment buildings. There, about the 4th floor, I saw a couple butt-ass naked, going at it doggy style against the window. She was making her O face and open up her eye during the peek and locked immediately with mine. I quickly looked at the pavement and just kept on walking. When a cute nurse accidentally drops something, picks it up, and bam. Thong. Flying home for Christmas on leave from Navy Hospital in 1973. Still very weak so I was first passenger on plane. Stewardess has placed extra pillows and blankets on seat across from me. She leans over to get the last one. She was wearing a garter and stockings and nothing else under her skirt. Would have been even more exciting except all I could do was imagine. I am 6-2 inches tall and weighed about 95 pounds at the time. I had lost so much weight due my illness. So all I could do was think about 6 but even if she had been willing nothing I could have done. My freshman orientation of college we are all going outside for another damn tour. I'm sitting up against a wall when this absolutely stunning girl in a dress walks out of the commons door and a gust of wind hits her, lifts the dress up, and reveals she is not wearing underwear. Started that tour with a boner. One year in my mid-20s, I lived next door to a family in Cambridge, MA. Their daughter came home from college that spring. My bedroom window faced hers. She used wooden blinds that were more or less completely transparent. Each night, before bed, she would just stand naked in front of her mirror. Sometimes she'd sit on the edge of her bed and face the mirror. That summer she studied her own body closely, and I guess I got to know it pretty well, too. I was walking home drunk at 2 AM and walked past some people doing it doggy style on their knees behind a tree. We were no more than 10 feet from each other. Our eyes met. They stopped like deer in headlights. Then in my drunken stupor I say, "Party on," throw up some devil horns and walk away. Was watching some itty movie and fell asleep in friend's bed. Woke up in the morning and noticed for the first time that she was really ducking hot. I watched a gained water buffalo get a blowjob. Took me more than a few seconds to comprehend what I was seeing. During that time the buffalo snorted with pleasure and I walked away. Parking my truck at a motel. The room window in front of me had their blinds open about 2 feet. Inside was a man in a suit, a woman in a very sexy black dress, and a second woman naked except for a garter belt and nylons. It was about to get real in there. Accidentally saw myself in the gym body mirror while working out. Accidentally. It's been bothering me that I went through college never once seeing anything sexy by accident. I never walked in on people having sex. Never saw girls changing in dorms or anything. I know it happens all the time. But it's like all the sexiness in the world is hiding from me. Looked out a hotel room window to a woman. The opposite side of the street. On her bed. Fingering herself and recording it. My D smashed the glass. I was on Pirate Bay and saw a super hot ad on the side. Totally unexpected. It was super sexy. Way back when I used to live in the States, Miami FL, I had a close friend whose uncle was a successful lawyer. He lived with his uncle because he got in too much trouble back home. One day he called me over and he told me his uncle's second wife, early 20s, was swimming in the pool, and that she didn't know we were here. I peeked through the curtains and saw a naked woman swimming like something out of a Penthouse page. She was drop dead gorgeous too. And I think I stood there staring for around 30 minutes through the curtains. I saw a pair of lesbian girls at the bus stop once, just holding hands and looking at their phones. Pretty basic. I was looking past them down the street when one of the girls lifted her girlfriend's hand to her mouth and quickly licked the palm. They grinned at each other then kind of snuggled closer together. It was so quick and intimate. I thought it was pretty damn hot. This is for my friend. He was always a really mischievous kid, and one day he was hiding beneath his parents' bed when his parents came in. Being like 5, he didn't want to get yelled at for messing around in his parents' room, so he stayed hidden. Then his parents started to duck really loudly on the bed above him. He told me he heard a lot of banging and it going on, and he managed to sneak out undetected. His little brother was born 9 months later. So yeah, that's how my friend learned about sex accidentally at age 5. I'm pretty sure every sex I have is by accident. Scurrying about a park in New York one night with a hookup, looking for somewhere private. We encountered a guy and girl sitting on a wall in public with her riding him cowgirl style. The two of them merrily going at it. We detoured. I've told this story on Reddit before. I was playing poker at my brother's house with a few buddies. Went upstairs from the basement to the kitchen to grab some more beer for the refrigerator downstairs. And as I looked up I could see into my brother and his wife's bedroom. Sister-in-law had the door open and was changing. I got a profile shot of her in just underwear. She had nice breasts. Not huge, but nice. But her ass, holy moly, I knew it was relatively big just by seeing her in jeans. But not only is it big and round, but it was firm. I got a good 5-second look before she walked to the other side of the bedroom and I could no longer see her. She and my brother got divorced about a year later, and she was crazy. Everyone wondered why he was with her for so long. I knew why. My wife was drying off in front of our sunny, second-story bedroom window. Down from the sidewalk we hear, "Woohoo." She's mortified and I'm looking up from the bed and saying no. He's right. Woohoo. Less than sexy times N some more than. I was sitting at the reference desk at work. It was quiet. Almost dead in the library except for a guy studying nearby. As I'm staring in his general direction pondering why time can't go a bit faster. He stretches his arms over his head. Sighs. And OMG. It was like time stopped and my ladder bits went into overdrive. I still think about that stretch now and then. Alright. Let's see if this is the proper thread for this. In junior year of high school, our class took a trip to snorkel and scuba dive in the Key Largo, Florida. At the location we stayed there was also an underwater hotel for guests. When we first got there we had to learn how to properly snorkel. The scuba divers had already taken a course on how to scuba, and we learned near the underwater hotel. So as we're practicing, all the kids started hanging out in one area and spending more time than normal underwater. One of the instructors swam over near us and dove down to see what all the kids were looking at. A couple had rented the underwater hotel room for their honeymoon and were doing what newlyweds do on their honeymoon, with the curtains open. So the instructor, in an attempt to warn them of the 40 or so high schoolers watching them, tapped on their window. When they finally noticed, a woman had a look of such fear on her and ran to close the curtains while simultaneously attempting to cover herself. The man on the other hand appeared to be in shocked silence, but just as the curtain was pulled shut he appeared to have a look of pride, like he was bragging about his incredibly attractive wife to a bunch of high schoolers he would never again meet. We then had a class meeting about how it is improper to watch people have sex. TLDR. Always close your curtains. So I went camping a few years ago with some friends. We go for a hike and are following a clearly marked trail, about to cross a small river, and I stopped the group because I noticed a girl lying down on the other side of the river, legs spread wide open, with some guy eating her out. Like there was no chance other people might be walking down the path in the middle of the day. We turned around to head back and they noticed us and got their it together real quick. Ended up seeing them again later at a small lake near the campsite, fully clothed this time, and the look she gave us was priceless. Girl did a cartwheel back in high school and flashed the class when her sweatshirt flew up. She was wearing a bra, but was busty for being 13-14. Working on a roof. Saw a very attractive woman getting out of the shower, working on a residential 2-level roof. I'm on the lower level walking back to the ladder with 2 other workers. We stop about halfway on one of the roof peaks to have a smoke. This level of roof had rows of windows along it, and as we stop, we hear holy. We turn around to see a 8-10 woman stepping out of the shower and racing for a towel. We all had a good laugh and she didn't care in the slightest. When I was growing up I lived next to a very religious family that had 4 attractive daughters. They also had a pool which you could see from my parents' bedroom window. Well, one day I was home alone and went to grab something in their room when I noticed the second oldest daughter, about 20 years old at the time, swimming by herself. I got to where I could see her and she probably couldn't see me to watch her for a sec, mainly because I was a horny teenage boy, but also because what she was doing seemed a bit weird. She started out doing what looked like water exercises with her legs and made her way to the edge every few seconds to perch her elbows on it and dangle in the water. But while she was dangling there she would look around like she didn't want anybody to see her, and if a car passed by she would dart to the center of the pool and slowly make her way back to the edge again. This went on for a few minutes and I was getting more and more curious until it dawned on me. She's dangling over one of the jets in the pool and it's hitting her right in the sweet spot. I could have very well passed out from all the excitement when I finally figured it out. Those good little Christian girls never looked the same to me again. I was going to my girlfriend's house at the time, and when I got there, her equally hot older sister was just getting out of the shower with only a towel on. I was camping out in an airport restroom between flights waiting for the place to clear up, i.e. trying to poop, and just as it did and I started to relax, someone comes rushing into the stall right next to me. Remember, it was a 15+ stall place, and she gets in the one adjacent to mine. Well, I hear her unzip her skirt and then a rapid, wet noise ensues. It goes on for about a minute or two before she makes some breathy moans for another half a minute, then stand. Zip, she was out the door, and I was left in a different state of mind. I was at reading festival years ago. I went to get my wristband put on, and when the girl put the clasp round it and pressed down on the machine to seal it, I saw down her top. I saw one full naked boob with a puffy little nipple. Duck me, was it hot. Very recently, I was in the public bathroom, and I accidentally glanced at the mirror and saw a rather large-breasted man. That was nice, but he was me, and I am like family, so it wasn't as enjoyable as it could have been. The school I attended was originally just for boys, and the sports changing rooms were built for seniors on one side, juniors on the other, and showers connecting the two. When the school became mixed they just built a partition in the shower area. After a sports lesson during the winter in our 5th year, the boys were having showers after rugby practice and we heard the girls larking about on their side of the partition. I don't know how it happened, but 3 of the girls crashed into the partition wall and it just fell down. 15 naked teenage boys then stood looking at 15 naked teenage girls in one enormous shower, with the wreckage of a stud wall on the floor between us. I don't know how long the moment lasted, but the erection lasted for months. I was a freshman in high school and accidentally bumped into the hottest girl in school, a senior bombshell. This made her spill her cup of tea all over her deep V-neck shirt and the resulting cleavage. I still remember it fondly. Junior year in high school. 10/10 with huge asses wearing a skirt. She goes up to teacher's desk to talk about something. He is explaining something, so she leans over to see what he's pointing out. That's when her skirt was hiked up above her waist and her entire ass was out. Guess there was no breeze because the entire class was in awe for what felt like 5 minutes. Greatest moment of my life so far. My parents having alone time in their room. Lock the door. Don't blame me. I somehow became my dorm's unofficial math physics tutor last year. I'm helping the hottest chick in my dorm with an optimization problem right outside her room. After I help explain a couple of things, she manages to get it on her own and she's pretty excited that it finally makes sense to her, so she gives me a really tight hug that I wasn't expecting. I hadn't noticed she wasn't wearing a bra, which made the hug even better. When this awesome hug finally ends, she says, "Oh haha, I'm sorry, I'm not wearing a bra," and she looks at me as she goes into her room. Then I, like a dumbass, proceed to go get food to eat. A girl I like had a few drinks at a bar I work at and I caught her staring at my crotch. I told her, "Hey, eyes up here." Then she looked me dead in the eye and gave me the seductive little eyebrow raise. Nothing happened because we both have other partners, but something about that moment was hot. Topless 18-year-old neighbor opened the door as I was opening my door. She screamed and closed the door after 1 second. I don't know what happened. Her tits are burned in Ultra HD inside my brain forever. My boss once gave a bunch of us fellow ladies in the office some advice on how to avoid getting lipstick on your teeth. She put her thumb in her mouth, wrapped her lips around it and slowly pulled it out of her mouth. It was surprisingly hot. There were shocked and blushing faces all around. When I was 16, I was hanging out with some guy friends, probably drinking beers. Don't really remember. One of them had a fantastic six-pack, and as teenage girls do, I would, on occasion, jokingly rub his stomach. So I lift up his shirt to cop a feel and boom the tip of his D. First thought, what is that? Second thought, OMG. Third, wait, is that for me? When I put his shirt back down, I looked like a ducking deer in headlights. My sexual experience was minimal at the time, but he just gave me the coolest whatever shrug that seemed to say yep. That was my D, and that is how I found out that men tuck their boners into their waistbands. I used to deliver papers in middle school. Went collecting subscription money and the guy's 18-19-year-old daughter came to the door in her bra and panties. She made me come in and sit on the couch while she found the money. Spank bank for life. I work at a campsite in Scotland and last summer I was out cutting grass on my ride-on mower, Gianni Ferrari Turbo 4. I was mowing a patch of grass near some tents and had to stop as there was a large stone in my way. As I climbed off my mower, I heard the sound of a flap opening. I turned my head to see a naked redhead girl about 25 emerge from the tent and proceed to embark on a series of morning stretches. This was without doubt the sexiest thing I've come across, and I'm surprised I didn't spray her with love custard right there and then. Me and this girl I liked at the time, she's now my GF, were playing Cards Against Humanity with some friends. We were sitting on the floor and she was in these sexy denim shorts and was sitting with her legs crossed. I then noticed that I could see her V because her shorts were small and the way she was sitting was stretching them just right. Anyways, I was talking to her during the game and we started flirting. Now I knew about her V being out the whole time and looked occasionally so as not to draw attention to myself. Anyways, throughout the process of us flirting I noticed she was getting wet downstairs. I was turning her on and witnessing it happen. I ended up taking her home that night and we've been together since. I don't think she knows that the reason I got enough confidence to get her to come home with me came from me seeing her V and witnessing her getting wet for me. TL. Doctor witnessed a V of a girl that I liked getting wet while talking with me. She didn't know. Made her my GF that night after 60 time. At a music festival, there was a tent for showering. The tent was separated by gender with a wall, same material as the tent, with metal poles. For some reason there was a small gap in the wall because it wasn't aligned right. I was showering and could peek into hordes of naked girls showering. At a strip club, saw gorgeous stripper trip and tumble down a flight of stairs. Hot. I once witnessed a FHM bikini photo shoot on the beach. That was pretty sexy. Didn't see this one, but spent a drunken night on my friend's couch in college. Her and her 3, very attractive, roommates all went into their rooms with guys they had picked up, and proceeded to have repeated, loud, sex for several hours. I was a pizza deliverer, no not from a porno, and was working in downtown Nick. I remember having to deliver this order down the block, 4 pies and a salad, in December. I buzzed the doorbell and the lady who answered it sounded smashed, slurring words, and it took her a solid minute to press the doorbell. Well anyways she lived on the 5th floor, so I walked up and knocked on her door. She opened the door and immediately I see the right half of her body, naked, trying to hide behind the door. She was blonde and extremely fit. I blushed so hard, and I have a dark, olive complexion, and my eyes didn't know where to go, so they looked inside the door jamb. I see a naked guy on the floor watching TV in the living room. My eyes spring up, away from him to another doorway, which was a bedroom, and I see 2 naked brunettes laying on bed, caressing each other. There was a strong odor of weed and musk. I took my money and ran, trying to hide a stiffy while not rolling down the stairs. I work in an uninspired office building. Absolutely nothing special about it or the 24 companies there. Coming in from underground parking early one morning there was a guy I'd never seen before. No homo, but this guy was a freak of nature, like something out of a romance novel. He was wearing sweatpants and nothing else. After passing him at the Coke machine I went into the elevator lobby proper. Well if he was a Greek god here is Miss Universe in nothing but a towel. Blonde and probably the only person in the Western Hemisphere worthy of sex with that guy. The question was if he was worthy of her. It wasn't too far from the building's gym lockers. But personally I figured the couch in the lobby was the recipient of this early morning event. I tried to ignore them but they, especially she, acted unsurprisingly embarrassed. I wish I'd said hi or something to let them know I was cool with it. They were probably worried I'd complain to security or some other equally douche move. But I wouldn't have cared if they were trolls, and to complain about these 2 seemed like a crime against humanity. Someone might as well have fun in that dungeon. I never told my co-workers because they are well, douches and would even today complain to security. I had to rush my wife to the hospital after complaining of sudden head pain. She was diagnosed with an aneurysm. The doctor, woman, who gave her the horrifying news had on a tongue ring. When I was but a wee lad I was at a vacation resort with my parents and as I turned the corner I saw 2 people making out and he was unzipping her fly. She saw me, put a hand to her mouth and a hand to cover her zipper. I didn't know it at the time. I was like 6 or 7, but now I know. 15-18-year-old me used to have swimming lessons, which eventually turned into a lifeguard course. During one session we were practicing diving and posture. After we dove in we would stay in the water while the next person went. I used to put my head under so I wouldn't get splashed, but also because it was cool to see people dive in from underwater. Long story short, girl dives in, and her bikini top comes down. She managed to pull it back up before coming to the surface. I was the only one who saw and it was awesome and also the first real pair I saw. TL. Doctor, I don't like getting splashed so I got flashed instead. Went on vacation with my best friend and his family. He had a sister who brought friends. One morning the hottest one got out of the shower and walked across the hall and her towel fell off. Luckily she didn't know I was awake. And luckily she had amazing boobs. I want to say anything that involves my fiancée, but then she tells me that she planned it all along. Full stop. Backstage at a fashion show, was at Yes Mall. Abu Dhabi and happened to walk past the changing area side door. It had been left open and without thinking I glanced in expecting there to be another barrier between the outside, general public area and inside. Nope. Very hot model was naked between costume changes and oblivious to my rabbit frozen headlight gaze. Door swung shut and I was back to earth again. Seeing how conservatively dressed women are here in public, it felt even the more surreal for a sudden snapshot of pure, unadulterated beauty. A number of years ago, my now wife and a buddy and his girlfriend were sharing a hotel room at Dragon Con. One afternoon, while we were prepping to go, we looked out and on the balcony across from us and a girl dressed as a fairy, with wings, was getting a solid rogering from behind by a guy in a bowler hat. While she leaned over the railing, it made her wings flap. We hypothesized that she was having trouble getting in the air, and he was trying to help get her started. Sexy and funny. Hanging out with friends in my high school parking lot after dark, I looked up through a window and saw a guy walk into a room in a bathrobe. He walked up to a girl who was on her knees and opened his robe. Teenage me screams "Oh it." They heard me and closed the shade. Misread as "What was the sexiest accident you've ever seen?" I was just outside Barcelona hiking in the foothills of Mount Tibidabo. I was at the end of this path and I came to a clearing and there was a lake. Very secluded, and there were tall trees all around. It was dead silent. Gorgeous. And across the lake I saw a beautiful womaness bathing herself as but she was crying us. Worked at a sporting goods store in my teens. A very attractive woman in her late 20s early 30s came in to buy rollerblades. She had on a short skirt and loose fitting low cut top. She asked for help putting the rollerblades on, so I knelt down in front of her on the floor. Was glancing up when I caught a look up her skirt. No panties. She didn't even seem to care. Had her legs in a relaxed position. She then leaned over to adjust the rollerblades and I got a full IMAX viewing of her boobs. She giggled like she knew. I still remember that even now. 16-year-old me was amazed. One time when I was working at an outdoor produce stand, my co-worker and 9/10 smoking hot chick showed me her nipple by accident. Just one. She told me to grab the plastic bags and put them on the racks. Obviously a metaphor for a D with a condom on it going to town. Right after that, the magic happened. She bent over to pick up a cardboard box, and her nipple popped out. She doesn't know I saw it. Nobody does. It's my secret. That perfect combination of a wind gust and being in the right place at the right time changed my life. I can only get after porn with chicks with one tit now. I'm scared. Was working over the summer for my university's electronics lab. Our portion of the campus is a complete ghost town because we had no summer courses. I stepped outside for a smoke and saw two students ducking on a bench on the other side of the courtyard. I just kind of stood there smoking and watching. Eventually they noticed me and started to leave, but I gave them the thumbs up and the dude laughed as he pulled his pants up. Funny story. 2 semesters later I passed that dude walking to class. We both recognized each other. He just busted out laughing and fist bumped me. His friends all looked pretty confused and I was just grinning ear to ear and we parted ways without saying a word. Was at a wedding reception just before dinner was served a girl staring at me with her bedroom eyes from across her table while her boyfriend is jabbing his fingers into her wet pussy as one of her legs rests spread on a chair. I guess they thought their tablecloth was longer than her skirt. Long time lurker. First time commenting. Here goes nothing. In high school our regular pay teacher would let us play soccer, basketball and volleyball during class. We had a substitute teacher for 1 or 2 weeks. He wanted us to do proper exercise, starting with stretching. We were all scattered pretty randomly around the gym, and I happened to be in the row behind one of my class most attractive girls. For the most part, the stretching exercises were pretty boring. Then he asked all of us to bend over on our knees and hands. Needless to say, I was quite happy to enjoy a privileged view of this girl's rear. I should add that she was wearing leggings. Now I'm not sure whether she was wearing panties or not, but I could quite clearly see everything she had to offer. Let's just say it was extremely challenging to keep my cool on.